Hello! If you haven't been here before, my name is Lena Norms, and I've been waiting 10 years of my YouTube career to make a tattoos and piercings video. True story. In fact, I can say without much doubt that maybe I subconsciously just made a YouTube channel so that one day I could make this video. Some might say, Lena, your channel's about books and social change. What are you doing talking about piercings? Well, one creative rule is make what you want to watch, and to be honest, I absolutely love watching tattoo and piercing videos just to hear people's stories behind them and why they got stuff and how painful it is and if they regret it, the general drama churn of life. And then also I want to use it as a way to talk about the politics of body acceptance and aesthetic. So wait for that until the end. But first, if you're into drawing and aesthetics, segue, my new zine just came in. It's actually physically here. It's called Doom Rolled in Glitter. It actually physically exists now with these lovely illustrations from Emma Hayden. Look at this. Each different page is a different thing. Ah. It's available now from my Etsy shop. It's just a $5 and it supports me creating all these free videos on the internet. So if you'd like to grab yourself one of those, I've printed 3,000. That was a shock when they arrived at my flat. 2,000 have already been spoken for and gone. So there are 1,000, there was probably about 800 left. So grab one while they're hot. They are going to be released on the 1st of November and I'm very excited about those. Anyway, on to the tattoos. So I got my first tattoo in Reno, Nevada when I was 19 years old. As unbelievable perhaps as it might be to you, I spent 3 months living in the desert during my gap year. I was volunteering with AmeriCorps, building a safe trail around Native American land so the tourists don't fuck up the sacred areas. I'd live in the desert for like 9 days straight with no toilets, drinking 4 litres of water a day because that's how hot it was, and often just sleeping wild outside, not even in my tent. I was exposed to a really interesting, diverse group of people who are all completely different ages to me and completely different experience levels to me. And it was just this summer of like, oh my God, the world is so big. One of the things I loved learning about when we were kind of like round the campfire at night, because obviously we didn't have any TVs or signal or anything, was asking people about their tattoos. I was fascinated by the stories. I'd always go around being like, where's that one from? What happened with that one? Like, I just loved hearing them. As the weeks went by, and after I'd been asking everyone about their tattoos and talking about tattoos so much, this guy was like, oh, so what tattoos have you got? And I was like, oh, I don't have any tattoos. And he was like, oh, it just seems that you're really into them. And I was like, oh, well, I'm not really the kind of person who gets tattoos. What the fuck? To 19-year-old Lena. What does that even mean? And I remember going back to my tent that night and just like lying in the dark thinking, at what point already in my very short life have I become somebody who says, I'm not the kind of person who. I was able to describe the kind of tattoo I'd want, where I'd want it, but I just refused. Something in my brain was like, not for you, you're not that cool, you're not that person. And at 19, I decided to put a stop to that thought process once and for all by getting a tattoo. Now, given it's not a masterpiece, it's not the world's greatest tattoo, but I was really supported by my friends. I had a really great memory of like going to the very suspicious tattoo parlour and having a very suspicious tattoo artist do it. Not suspicious in the way that I thought was unsafe, by the way. I had checked their certificates. You know, having my friends really support me in it and accompany me there and take me for a beer afterwards, even though I was underage. The whole thing was such a positive experience, and while it is a completely smudged, very cliche tattoo, I swear to God, when I got that tattoo, not that many people had bird cages. Bird cages weren't on quirky middle-class dresses. They weren't like on every fucking paper chase notebook. They were like a thing that I was like, oh, a bird cage, quirky. And it symbolises freedom, okay. It's where a tramp stamp might be, but this is 2019. We have to stop using the phrase tramp stamp. For me, this was really low consequence. It was like $90 to do. It was really easy to heal. It's on my back, so even if it's not something that really aesthetically pleases me anymore, the consequences really aren't that bad. And I really love that tattoo. It reminds me of a really hilarious summer in Reno, and we're gonna get into the concept of regret later. But yeah, that was my first tattoo. My first piercings were my ears. I got them when I was about 6. I remember like all of my friends had them when they were like 4 or 5 in Coventry in the Midlands. I don't know if it's the same way you grew up, but that's just what it's like in the Midlands. And I remember being like really furious and being like, I really want my ears pierced, like kicking off because all my friends already had them. We were like 4 or 5, must have been entering reception. It was just a thing. And I had to wait till I was 6, which was like super embarrassing. I remember getting them done at a place called Sapphires in Coventry, if you've ever been. I remember my mum not really being that into the idea, but understanding it was like part of the culture I was in, and was just like, okay. And yeah, I've just always had my ears pierced. That's just always been a thing. Then my second is, I'm not doing this in the right order, am I? I'm not even doing it by convention, but whatever. I'm just saying them as they occur to me. My second piercings from my second ears. I can't even remember when I got that done. Potentially it was about the age of 11 or 12, I think. I went and got that done on my own. That's what I do remember. I think I went with my mate Kelly and we went to Blue Banana in Coventry, if anybody knows about that. I thought it was like a really goth shop, felt really cool. And we went without an adult, which is like super cool. And yeah, not really much to say about piercings. I know people give them like pain ratings, but really it's the same as like having a blood test. It's not, I don't know why people think it's that painful. Anyway, perhaps you have a very low pain threshold, but for me, I'm like, calm down with the piercings. It's not bad. The next piercing I got was when I was at uni. I think I also got this done in Blue Banana in Coventry, but I was definitely like on leave from university. I got my nose pierced, had a stud for a little bit, and then I eventually got a ring, which was always like the end goal. And again, it was a challenge where whenever I saw somebody with a nose ring or a piercing, I was like, oh my God, I think that looks so good. But I was always like, that wouldn't suit you. That's not for me. I'm not cool enough for that. And again, eventually about a couple of years after, I challenged myself and was like, I think you deserve a nose ring, Lena. Be the change you wish to see. So I went to Blue Banana again in Coventry and got my nose done. That did hurt a lot and it actually took a very long time to heal. So beware, if you want a hoop, you have to wait a really long time for a stud to heal before you can get a hoop. Very important. And I did used to change my hoop all the time and clean it when it was healing for about a year. And then once it was kind of healed, I just got this really, really slim hoop. I've pressed it down, kind of squished the metal so it doesn't stick out, or if you go like that. Because again, it's surprising in your life, especially when you live with a group of girls, how often people want to squeeze your nose. And if you've got a piercing in there and somebody goes like that, so I got a hoop that I could squish down, really thin metal. I've had that in for about 7 years without touching it. You know, if it ever got dirty or something, I would clean it, but it just never does. It's just really set in there because I looked after it when I first got it pierced. And now it's just a part of my body. I don't even have to think about it or feel it or anything. Another stupid question I wanted to ask when I got piercings is, does it set off any alarms? No, it doesn't. I've never been asked to take this out at airports or anything. It's such a small amount of metal that doesn't make any difference. I wouldn't know how to take it out at this point. I imagine with pliers, but I think that's my favourite piercing, to be honest, is my nose ring, because it's so subtle and small, but I just really like how it looks. I was 24. I was having a bit of just a really weird in-between time. I'd been through an engagement and a subsequent breakup. Lol, playlist here if you want to learn about that time in my life. And I was kind of looking to do something just for me that was nice, but wasn't buying anything that wouldn't last. And I decided to get some piercings in my ear, again because I loved the concept of the practicality of my nose ring, that it was a bit of style. It says something about me, but I didn't have to touch it or mess with it at all. So I kind of literally just Googled the diagram of an ear and picked 2 piercings that I knew I wouldn't have to touch. So I got my conch pierced, which sounds like something more censored than it is. It's just this little part of your ear. I got that bit pierced, and I got my snug pierced. I did it in one. I just did it on my own. I kind of went there. It was kind of a drop-in place in Camden and was like, can you do this for me? And they were like, yeah, whatever. They really hurt. In fact, my snug healed quite nicely. To be honest, I don't think my conch has ever really recovered. Sentence I never thought I'd say. The conch never really recovered. And my ear smells a bit funny, to be honest. It's not infected, it's not dangerous, it's not painful, but I just don't think my ears ever really recovered from the insult of me shoving something through it without its consent. So it just constantly gives off a really weird, you have to be really close to, you have to be top tier accessible areas close to be able to smell it. But if I was going to be honest, that's just something to be aware of. That I think because this is a much thicker bit of skin, that part of your ear is really thick. If you feel it, it's proper cartilage. And shoving something through it in that way, it's just made it grumpy with me forever, but whatever, I'm keeping it in, it's my body. And it will obey me. They're the last piercings that I got. I might get more, but I don't really, you know, at some point I'd quite like to get the outside of my ears done, but I'm also really scared of like catching it on something, because that's like right on the outside and they would be hoops, and I'm a bit terrified of having anything caught on me. I've just got a vision of somehow getting it caught on a train, and then the train pulling out, and then me being pulled behind a train. It makes no sense, but it's there. And then on to my 2 tattoos. So I've got one tattoo here. I got this heart very spontaneously in Cornwall. Me and Craig passed this place called Bruin Tattoo, which is a coffee shop run by 2 lovely women who are both tattoo artists, and they have a little studio upstairs, so you can go in, get a coffee, and then go upstairs and get a tattoo if you want. So we booked something for the next day. I brought with me like some drawings of anatomical hearts, and then she kind of drew one up on the spot and was like, something like this, and I was like, yeah, like that, and we played with the placement a little bit. I just kind of got it done. I've been playing with the idea of getting more tattoos for so long that the decision wasn't a hard one. And actually, I think the decision of what to get was kind of arbitrary, because I liked so much and I'd thought about something like this, something like something else for so long, that I was just like, I just want to break the seal of like, I know that I'm not going to regret it. I really like this style of tattoos that they're offering. Again, I just really like the feel of the shop. I felt really comfortable there. So we got one done. Craig got a camera done as well that he's since had like done up a little bit, because I think his was a bit more smudged. But mine seemed to have come out really great. I think this is about £60 to get done. And it was really easy to heal as well, because it was the summer, so I could just have it out all the time. Now, my new tattoo, and my 3rd tattoo, which makes me feel qualified to be able to make a tattoos and piercings video, is this. This was done by Emily Rabbit. I will leave her Instagram below, in a tattoo studio called Good Fight. And I absolutely love it. I'd been wanting a book-themed tattoo for a really long time. I think that when I think about concepts or symbols or things that I can be pretty sure that I will still like in 20 years, books is a pretty safe bet. So I sent her a few different designs of things that other people had done, and some stuff of like her tattoos on her feed that I like the most. I found her on Instagram, by the way. Finding tattoo artists on Instagram is like the best way, because you can really see a big body of their work, and then you can also, top tip, look at the tattoos that they've posted that they've done. See if they've tagged the customer in their post. Then you can go through the customer's feed if it is public, and see how it's healed, see how it looks on the customer in different angles, and how they like wear their tattoo and stuff. And I think that's a really good way of like investigating if you really trust the tattoo artist. So anyway, I had been following Emily for like a year, maybe 2 years, like loved every single tattoo that she'd done, and was like, I just think if that girl did anything on me, I'd be happy. There is nothing. I think sometimes it can be misleading when you only like 1 or 2 of somebody's tattoos. I think you're kind of playing with fire when that happens. But with Emily, I was like, oh, I really need to book something in with her at some point. And then a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago to be exact, she had an opening. She just put on Instagram stories, I've had a cancellation for tomorrow, does anybody want this slot? DM me if you do. And I was like, I'm free. It could be me. So I emailed her and I was like, hello, is this slot gone? If not, I'd really like it. Here's the kind of thing that I want. And she was like, yeah, come in. I love that idea. And she seemed really excited to do it. I paid her a deposit, which is really important, I think, with artists. Like, if they ask for a deposit, do pay a deposit and be ready to pay in full in cash on the day. I'm really, really happy with it. I didn't see the design till I went into the tattoo shop, which was like the thing, because it's so big and because it's so custom and like drawn for me, I was a bit like, oh, the pressure to like this. But I went in and I couldn't have been happier, and I made a few little tweaks. I think I asked her to put more hair in it and stuff like that, but really it was so spot on, and I was just like, get that on my body now. So that's my new tattoo. I know a few of you had spotted it in video, so I thought I'd just show you, so then it is done. Pain wise, this one wasn't that painful at all. I think because of the skill of Emily. I think she's just a really good tattoo artist, and she did it in a way that was like deep enough that it would be a good tattoo, but not too deep in that it would be ridiculously painful. I think this one was much more painful because it's softer skin. And then the birds at the top of my rib cage were really painful from what I remember, but it was 10 years ago. And the bottom bit wasn't that painful because it's got a lot of flab on it. So I think it depends really on flabability around your tattoo and where it is, how close it is to a bone. But I definitely think this one was my most painful. On the idea of tattoos in general, I always have thoughts when people talk about tattoos to me, especially because it's interesting, because I have tattoos that aren't always visible. People talk to me about tattoos not realising that I have them, and I think that some people, when you don't have tattoos, can be a bit more candid about how they really feel about them, and that is always a ride. I spent years and years trying to work out a good tattoo to get that would mean something to me in 30 years. And I realised that was more of a wild goose chase than finding something that I really liked the look of. I think my visual taste, if I go through like my Tumblr and my Pinterest, my taste in visuals changes less than my opinions and my favourite quotes and my feelings about different words. Like, all of that seems to be more transient than my actual taste in things that look nice. I kind of just stopped following that goose. Fuck the goose. Does the goose exist? Who is the goose? Why catch the goose anyway? Let the goose run free. No more wild goose chases. And that's really worked out for me. I love the anatomical heart. I actually didn't really think about the fact that it was wear your heart on your sleeve because I got it so spontaneously. I found for me getting spontaneous tattoos, well, thinking about what I'd like, where I'd like it, who I'd like to do it long term, I think not actually booking something in and waiting for it for a really long time has really helped me. One, with pain anticipation. Two, with like, oh, is it the right one? Regrets. Like, the build-up hasn't been there for me, and I think that's actually really worked really well because I knew vaguely what I wanted and then let kind of fate and the moment decide a little bit, and then just accepting that. And that's really how I go about choosing tattoos. I think I would think more carefully if it was something on my lower arms, or something on my hands, or something that was on my face. You never know, people change. I think that goes hand in hand with my attitude now to regret in general, attitude to people worried that you will regret tattoos. I see tattoos as a happy thing, a good decision, a fun thing that people have decided to do in their lives, a really worthwhile investment, more better investment than clothes or makeup, an act of paying an artist to make something just for you that you can keep forever. I think that's a really cool decision. And I think with other big decisions in your life, say, i.e. marriage, children, buying a house, people don't have the attitude automatically that's like, you might regret that. Nobody's standing at a wedding party being like, I give them 3 months. Nobody finds out that a friend is pregnant and goes, oh, was it really the time? And while obviously those are much bigger decisions in the way they impact your life, I find it funny that people's attitude to tattoos and other people getting tattoos, which is such a private, personal decision, is they just feel like they can just make it so public and just say it to you. Weird. I think it's time for us all to really inspect our attitude towards other people's permanent decisions. The difference really between, if we're taking the example of a marriage or a tattoo, is that a tattoo is purely a visual thing and it's purely superficial. And the fact that people would trust you to make a decision like, who am I going to marry, but they're not going to trust you to make a decision about what random picture would I like on my body, is a really weird indicator of how people feel about you as a person. The consequences of getting a tattoo that you don't like are, in reality, very, very small. The consequences of you marrying somebody who's an asshole, I would call those real consequences. I guess it's the nervousness about not being able to fix your decision later or hide your decision. Of course, you can marry somebody unsuitable, you can get divorced, nobody would know the difference. At what point is preempting the superficial judgment of others affecting which judgments we see as important or unimportant? The fact that in 30 years people will be able to look at me and see the decisions that I made and make a judgment about who I might have been as a 20-year-old versus me as a 50-year-old, that doesn't scare me, but it seems to scare people. And my question is, policing our decisions now to fit around an imaginary group of people that I might have decided to surround myself with in my 50s seems like a self-fulfilling prophecy. It was interesting to me when I was engaged how many opinions I got on whether I should get visible tattoos before my wedding day versus people's opinions about whether my marriage was a good idea or not, which was, PS, spoiler alert, not a good idea, was really interesting. And to be honest, I could have really done with the insight and polite input about my relationship that maybe other people thought might not have worked out eventually. I could have done with that sooner and less of the advice about whether I should get tattoos that will show through my wedding dress. And I think we're also coming to terms with what a permanent decision is in this society. Not to make everything about climate change, even though everything is about climate change. But, you know, sometimes I want to turn around to somebody who might be looking at me weird because I've got tattoos and be like, look, Sally, I consider that beige jumper you're wearing a huge mistake. But at least my mistake won't be sitting in landfill for the next 100 years. Hey? So I think sometimes if you are thinking about getting a tattoo and nervous about the permanence of it, you have to really inspect, I think, body autonomy, how much you feel in control of your body, how much the look of your body really matters to you, and how that translates to how you relate to other people, and whether that really does make you nervous. Because I think, you know, yeah, in some industries, if you're a lawyer, if you're in these traditional professional industries, you will get judged for them. But more and more, I think people our age are becoming those people who employ people, and they really, really don't care about the visibility of tattoos. So I feel, again, I really delayed getting tattoos from the fear of being employed by baby boomers. And then I realised as I got older that I was like, oh, it won't always be baby boomers choosing to employ me. And obviously there's some really cool tattooed baby boomers too, but I think the judgment dilutes in every generation, and the people that employ you in the future aren't necessarily going to be from the generation above you. That's the reality of the new economy. I also think the act of me getting tattoos is telling myself how fun my body gets to be, how much of mine it is and not anybody else's. That when I look at my tattoos, it reminds me of that I get to make choices about my body and not other people, that the way my body looks isn't such a huge gamble that is a reflection of my purity or my worth or how I look to other people. I think getting tattoos helped me to minimise in my head how worthwhile the look of a body is, how it's not really the sum of a person, it's not really my value. Putting too much emphasis on how perfect my tattoos are and how much I'm going to love them when I'm old, it is too much of an emphasis on making decisions for my future self and not for my present self. An example being my back tattoo, that I absolutely love, and I know that it looks kind of bodged and shit, but like that gap year was kind of bodged and shit, and it's a thing that happened, and I'm proud that I did it, and I'm glad that I've got a memory that reminds me that I did. And the last reason I'm really glad I got tattoos is because they look sick. I think my ones look sick. I think tattoos in general look sick. I just really like them. Oh, you don't think tattoos look sick? That's cool. You know what to do. Don't get them. Don't worry, looking at my tattoos isn't going to mean that tomorrow morning you wake up with my back tattoo on your back. I've always thought the people with tattoos looked amazing. I think sometimes people saying that they're worried that you won't like them in the future is really them telling you that they don't like it in the present, and them feeling like that is an important thing they have to get across, which it's not. It kind of reminds me of the people that always turn up in my comments, seemingly flabbergasted, floored, surprised, utterly perplexed to not find their views on my channel. And I'm like, it's my channel. That's why my views are here. If you had a channel, your views would be on your channel. It's like going to work and being genuinely shocked that not everyone else is wearing the same clothes as you. Of course they're not. They're their clothes. You're wearing your clothes. I'm not suggesting that we all need to be these radical individuals that all look really different and have to make a statement about it. But I am saying that, yeah, it'd be great to be on the same page about social change issues, the state of workers' rights, how we define hard work. But I don't think that subconscious need for synergy should translate into the need to look the same, speak the same, dress the same, have the same aesthetic tastes. Calm down, Dave from The Office. It's not really fair being called Dave, is it? You just get used all the time. It's like being called Joe Bloggs. Sorry, Dave. Progressive Dave with your tattoos. I don't want to box in the Daves of the world. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. I really enjoy watching tattoo videos and getting really nosy about why people get them. So I hope you got some enjoyment out of that too. And perhaps it helped explain why I like tattoos, why I think it's okay to get tattoos. If you don't want to get tattoos, that's totally fine. It's kind of the difference between being a minimalist or not. Some people don't want any shit in their house. Some people don't want to decorate their possessions. I do. I'm the kind of girl who likes stickers on their laptop. You got to know yourself, I got to know myself. And at the end of the day, we all go home to our own houses and eat our own choice of dinner. Mine's bangers and mash. Yours is Angel Delight and cheese strings. We're just different people. Quickly at the end, little technicality advice for anybody thinking about getting tattoos. Make sure the place you're going to has all of its certificates, that it lists them on the website. If it doesn't list them on the website, it's probably a bad idea. Look up reviews of the tattoo parlour you're going to, as well as the tattoo artist you want to pick. Often tattoo artists will work between maybe two parlours, or they'll tour as well. So you want to make sure the tattoo parlour you're going to as well has a nice atmosphere, people haven't been treated badly there, that it looks like it's clean, and that it has all its clean certificates. It's all adult, boring admin stuff, but it's really fucking important if you don't want to get a green arm. And then also, people who are part of the tattoo community know a bit more about this, and I've only just, really started watching videos on it, but it's really important that you don't pick somebody who's just gonna copy a picture of a tattoo that you've seen. The artwork is bespokely made by the artist, paid for by the customer who's commissioned the art, and really just copying tattoos isn't cool. The artist must make at least 3 significant changes to a tattoo before putting it on you. So if there is a tattoo artist that agrees to just copy another artist's tattoo and put it on you, they're probably not somebody to trust anyway. And if you're nervous, go with a friend that will ask you honestly whether you like the tattoo before you get it, whether you're happy with the placement, and stick up for you if you are too nervous to speak up and say, actually, I want this changed, I don't want that. You know, that really helped me with the first 2, going with somebody who I knew would, you know, make sure I got the tattoo that I really wanted. If you're nervous, they're my tips. Thank you so much for watching. Your copy of Doom Rolled in Glitter is waiting for you on my Etsy page. The link is below. I will see you in my next video. If you have any more questions about tattoos and piercings, do leave them in the comments, because I'm sure I gave no actual practical applicable info. So let me know in the comments and I'll answer there. Okay, I'm gonna go. Okay, bye!